So to realize all the qualities that are given in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and ultimately to realize Krishna. So we have to understand Krishna first with all his categories, all the different categories. And as we understand the different categories of Krishna's creation, Krishna's maintenance, and Krishna's destruction of this material nature, of this material world, how this material world is created, maintained, and destroyed, how within this material world he takes avatar, how he enters this material world, and how the Lord enters this material world, how the Lord engages in this material world, how he engages the devotees, how he purifies the devotees. All this is engaged, how he administers this material world. Why does he administer the material world? Why he gives us different philosophies? Why some people follow certain philosophies? Why some people come to Krishna, only a few people come to Krishna, and why not everyone? So why does he take avatar? So all these subject matters, basically the entire universal encyclopedia is revealed in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Therefore, the distribution of the subject matters of Srimad-Bhagavatam are very, very critical, are very, very important to understand. Because the distribution of these subject matters of Srimad-Bhagavatam are in a very beautiful order. The Srimad-Bhagavatam purifies one from whatever condition of material nature he has acquired and brings him to the highest spiritual platform. Now, to understand this, I would like to show a graphic. And this graphic is from my upcoming book. Of course, it has to be yet to be, I have to finish it still to make it nicer. But this will give you a better idea as to why Krishna explains creation. So why is it there? So, okay, here we go. So this is a book, this is my picture of how third canto, chapter 26, how the creation proceeds. Now this is basically the initial creation and the secondary creation. In the first stage, the soul desires, so he makes a petition to the Lord that I don't want to be with you. I want to be separate. So this separatist mentality of the soul, somehow or the other. So some say we were never with the Lord in the spiritual world. So like last week what we spoke, Garuda Prabhu spoke the relevant topic. So he explained that in that that due to that we were in Tatastha Shakti, because nobody falls from Vaikuntha, not a leaf falls from Vaikuntha. So the soul has an independent to forever. So literally the soul has been in this material world forever. Forever. I mean, we don't know how many births we have actually been through. And we have to start literally spiritual life. That is why we call it a new birth. So that is why they call Dvija, twice born. So when we become initiated, we call it a new birth, because all these births of ignorance, so that is called as bhava. But the initial start, it is explained. So that is the first subject matter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, that is creation, because creation defines to us who we are, where we come from, what do we do, where did you come from, where did you go, where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe, right? So where did you come from? If we understand where we come from and then where we go, then we will be able to plan what to do next. For example, I have to come to Hawaii, then I have to book a flight ticket, I have to go to the airport, then I have to board the plane, I have to ensure my luggage fits the plane requirements. So when we pack, whatever we pack for our next life, it should fit. So the first step for us to understand is that the soul is always pure, and gradually the levels of coverings of the soul increase. The levels of the covering of the soul gets grosser and grosser and grosser. It's very simple. The soul is sitting right in your heart, but you cannot see. The Lord is standing right in front of us, but we cannot see. The Lord is right within our heart, but we cannot see. Therefore, in the first subject matter of Bhagavatam, it is all about how we can understand how this evolution took place, how this evolution of the souls fall down or coming to this material world takes place. So the first step in this creation, the soul gets something, a covering of pradhana. So what is pradhana? Pradhana means material world in its latent state. Latent state. So it's like a seed. The seed has the whole tree, the fruits, everything is in the tree. In the seed. But the seed needs to be planted. So it's like nothing. The seed is nothing. So similarly, pradhana is colorless, odorless, nothing is manifest. So the Lord, as there is the soul and there is pradhana. And who is the mixer? The Lord mixes, the unmixable. The soul and this body do not mix. So although we are in this body, we do not mix. We do not mix. Yet there is a connection that is created. And how that is created? So that is the process of how this connection is created. Therefore, first the pradhana covers the soul. And then the Lord enters this covering along with the soul. So basically we came here because we want to be separate from Krishna. So the Lord enters this covering, and because of the cover, he becomes invisible to the devotee. He is not a devotee, because he is, in the sense, the so pure soul is a devotee, but moment he becomes covered, now he cannot see the Lord. Yet the Lord is there. So Hiranmaya, that thin veil, is covered by that. Yet his grossness of his creation, his grossness of the creation is not yet manifest. So Prabhupada calls it cosmic intelligence, means the Paramatma is still accessible because material world is still in its nascent stage. So cosmic intelligence means when the soul connects with Paramatma, that is called as cosmic intelligence. So we have two types of intelligence. So one is called as material intelligence and one is called as spiritual intelligence. So spiritual intelligence or cosmic intelligence. So this cosmic intelligence, the second level of, let me zoom in a little bit. I don't know how it will look, but okay, yeah. So the second one is called as cosmic intelligence, Hiranmaya. So this Hiranmaya, the creation of the Lord, Hare Krishna to Tulsi for joining.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Please
Krishna.
accept my
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. So I was just explaining how the process of creation, from the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and I hope you can see the screen. So we just started actually, but I was explaining how the soul in the beginning, he desires to come to the material world, and as he is planning to come to the material world, first he gets a thin covering of pradhana. So pradhana means material world in its nascent stage. So what does pradhana contain? So the first covering that the soul gets when he is falling to the material world is the pradhana. So pradhana is the three modes of material nature in its latent stage, means unmanifested modes of material nature. So the unmanifested modes of material nature. So the Lord is in this mix. So Prabhupada calls it a golden mix of the soul, super soul, and material nature in its unmanifested form. So that is called as Hiranmaya. And it's called cosmic intelligence. So cosmic intelligence means spiritual intelligence. So when the soul gets access to the super soul, and Srila Prabhupada explains that the super soul is always inspiring the soul, but the soul is not ready to listen to those instructions. So however, in the stage of Hiranmaya, the soul is taking the guidance from the super soul how to come down to the material world, because it's like you are taking a plane and you are taking a skydiving. The soul is literally taking a skydiving class from the Paramatma, because the Paramatma is the witness and the guide. So he's telling the soul, it's like the father taking the son. The son is interested in bungee jumping, and the father is like, okay, I don't want you to bungee jump, it's risky. The son says, no, Papa, I want to go. And then he takes him bungee jumping, he's watching over him. So literally, Hiranmaya stage is the bungee jumping stage. He's ready to jump down to the material world. And he's asking the super soul, okay, now how do I jump? He's saying, okay, here you go. Like my son has by hearted this phrase, here you go. And he gives you everything, here you go. So it's like I've become addicted to that term, here you go. So so in this way, uh, we can see that the soul is now sliding down. So welcome to Daniel, he just joined. So so welcome to the class, and so we just started, but we are 20 minutes into it, so I'll just summarize. So basically, the soul is gliding down to the material world, from the spiritual planet, like Garuda Prabhu was explaining, from the Tatastha Shakti. And the soul gets the covering of pradhana, material world, material nature in its latent form, and then Paramatma accompanies him and inspires him to do whatever he wants to do. He wants to come down. So so after that we feel, then there is okay, one second. Okay, now in the next stage, so so in the next stage of this creation, we will find from this Hiranmaya. So the first stage is the soul gets covered by pradhana. So pradhana is the material nature in its unmanifest form. Then the soul is accompanied by Paramatma. And so there are three things now. Like Prabhupada defines in Bhagavad Gita, knowledge means to know three things. So what are the three things? Matter, spirit, and controller of both. And this is the stage. You see matter in its unmanifested form. Then there is spirit, matter, spirit, and controller of both. That is Paramatma. So Paramatma is the controller here. And then comes Mahat Tattva. So Mahat Tattva, so from the Hiranmaya, the creation of the second stage, so then comes Mahat Tattva. So Mahat Tattva is where is a manifestation where pure mode of goodness. So from the Pradhana is three modes of material nature in its unmanifested form. That is actually this material world. For example, I have this cord. Now, what is this cord made of? Earth, water, fire, air, ether. Now, where is this? Where does this come? This comes from, okay, I have written Ahankara here, but it should be mode of ignorance. So there is mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. We will look into it as we go on. So from the mode of ignorance and mixture of ego comes earth, water, fire, air, ether, sound, touch, form, taste, smell. So this is mode of ignorance. Gross. As it gets grosser, mode of ignorance increases. So everything, the root of everything is the three modes of material nature. Pradhana is three modes of material nature in its unmanifested form, and as the creation proceeds, everything is nothing but the three modes of material nature. We need to understand this in detail because in this stage of Mahat Tattva, where the pure Sattva Guna manifests, and Prabhupada explains what is Shuddha Sattva. We say in the Bhagavatam that a devotee can see Krishna face to face, Santah Sadaiva Radayeshu Vilokayanti. So in the Brahma Samhita, it explains that the Santaha, the sadhus are always seeing the Paramatma within the heart. How is that? That is only in the mode of pure goodness. His heart is purified, where he is in the mode of pure goodness. Now, what does this mean? Now remember, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Indriyani paranyahu indriyebhyaha parammanaha manasastu parabuddhe yo buddhe parasastu saha. So higher than the body is the senses, means subtle sees the gross. So your senses can see the body. Indriyebhyaha parammanaha. The mind is subtler than the senses. The mind can see your senses. Senses cannot see the mind. Manasastu para buddhe. Your intelligence is subtler than the mind. So intelligence can see the mind. The mind cannot see the intelligence because it is even subtle. Subtle perceives the gross. I cannot see beyond a certain range of light. Right? Then Manasastu para buddhe, yo buddhe parasastu saha. Subtler than intelligence is you. Now you is at two levels. You is contaminated consciousness and pure consciousness. So your you is in two platforms. Contaminated consciousness. If you read third canto chapter 26, it explains the four constituents of the subtle body, that is mind, intelligence, ego, 3 plus contaminated consciousness, that is ego. The ego and contaminated consciousness. So the soul, so that is even subtler. But none of these can see the soul. So how does the soul see itself? How does the soul see itself? The soul can only see itself with when he has when his senses are reawakened. Right now the soul is in slumber. It is in ignorance. It is in ignorance. And when the soul awakens, he sees himself. Your mind, your intelligence, your ego, none of them can see the soul. Only the soul can see itself. That stage is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samas sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhakte labate param. When the soul awakens, he is in a state of bliss. Just like Daiva Prabhu, he is in bliss. So he's at least he is in a state of Hawaii, the state of bliss. Huh? So, so, so you are in a state of bliss. So you are in a state of bliss, and you see everyone equally. Means I see everybody as spirit soul. I don't see. So actually, in the mode of goodness, even in the mode of goodness, you don't see this is my enemy. I hate this guy. I love this guy. Although we love some people, like Garuda Prabhu always explains, like one who surrenders unto me, I love them like anything. That is definitely there. But you begin to see everybody equally on the platform of the soul. So the soul has to awaken itself. And then Prabhupada explains that, and with this transcendental senses, he sees the Supreme Lord, he sees Paramatma within heart. That is this stage of Mahatattva, of pure Sattva Guna. And what is pure Sattva Guna? Third canto, chapter 26, I think it's verse 25, but chapter 26, one of the verses, I think it's 25, Prabhupada explains, when passion and ignorance are completely absent, then what remains is a pure version of Sattva Guna. That is called Shuddha Sattva. So what does it mean? What is the conclusion? Devotee should live a life of Sattva Guna. Our main goal is to come to the level of Sattva Guna. Then comes Ahankar. So now the manifestation is beginning. Now the manifestation is actually taking place. So after the Shuddha Sattva stage, so basically there comes the ego. I was having a very beautiful discussion with Mahatma Prabhu on this. I was showing him this picture. He said there is pure goodness, then the ego manifests. Right? The ego comes out. So the ego is predominantly in the mode of ignorance. Now when this ego mixes with mode of goodness, there produces the mind. Interestingly, mind is supposed to be in the mode of goodness. When it mixes with the mode of passion, there is the material intelligence. And when it mixes with the ego, then all the elements are produced. So when it mixes with the mode of passion, all our organs of knowledge and action are produced. So Prabhupada says the material intelligence is in the mode of passion by default. In computer you have a default configuration. So by default, material intelligence in the mode of passion. So what happens? Whatever I see, the intelligence is like, how can I enjoy it? That is passion. But what is cosmic intelligence, spiritual intelligence? How can I please the Lord? So that's it. You have two types of intelligence, Daiva or Asura. We need Daiva intelligence. we need intelligence of Daiva, bro. Anyway, so you need Daivic intelligence. So this is how the creation proceeds. So at this stage of Ahankar, so like I said, I was speaking to Mahatma Prabhu, and the difference between the Sattva Guna here and the Shuddha Sattva here, the difference is the ego. And that actually revealed to me, he said, when you keep ego aside, when you drop the ego and you do service, when you give up ego in the mode of pure goodness, when we give up ego without any material interest, that's when mode of pure goodness manifests. So devotional service is transcendental, provided you keep your ego aside. Then pure goodness manifests. Otherwise you are in mode of goodness. So devotional service is here when the ego is gone. But the problem with all of us is because our sadhana is not very strong. So what happens is, when a thought enters you, it reflects in two ways. One, either the contaminated consciousness of ego or the pure consciousness of Shuddha Sattva Or of course, the modes we have acquired, either the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. For example, yesterday one devotee called me and he said, you know what, in my temple, the temple president is becoming very heavy-handed. He's doing this, he's doing that. I said, Prabhu, let's not talk about people. Let's not talk about this. What is the problem here? Mode of ignorance. So let's analyze the character. If you analyze the character, it's pure mode of ignorance. I said, what can you expect? Until somebody transfers over to the mode of goodness. So that is why they say they are the strings that are controlling us. When you get angry, that's it, you lose it. The next steps, even you don't know. The anger is dictating you. You don't know what you speak, and after everything is calmed down, and after you burst out, you're like, the problem is you hold it, you burst inside. You don't hold it, you burst outside. What do? So do not subject yourself to anger. For example, today, every morning, I'm doing this class for about 20-25 Indian devotees from Goa, and we are discussing. So we were discussing about diet today. So I explained this to them yesterday, and I was explaining about diet. So what happens when you eat? You either eat in mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. Moment you associate with that guna, don't expect that your body and mind will respond in a sattvic way. We are devotees, but we eat passionate food. Then what happens? I eat more chilies. I eat pizzas with heavy chilies and heavy foods. Then what happens? Mode of passion, ignorance. That's it. We acquire those qualities. So what is prescribed for a devotee? Mode of goodness. So we should eat everything in the mode of goodness. So we are releasing our videos of sattvic cooking on our page, actually, Food for the Soul. Yesterday we released barley soup, sattvic barley soup, barley butternut squash soup. So every day we are working on this, and our focus is that all devotees should eat sattvic foods, and we should cook sattvic. We should think that way. Usually what happens, I was speaking to one devotee, and he is living in a small temple in Delhi, in ISKCON temple, and every day he's very sick, and one of the reasons is, he said, he cooks rice dal sabji. Of course everything is vegetarian, but they fry it in so much, they need so much fried items, and all the dal, the chonk, they add so much chilies, this and that. So basically what happens is, Prabhupada explains, when you add too much of this, it burns your stomach lining and it causes various diseases. So as devotees, in Ayurveda also it is said, if you come to mode of goodness, most health problems are gone. Now I will reveal to you one wonderful secret. So I am writing this book on yoga and healing. What Prabhupada said, it's amazing when he explains about, in one purport, Prabhupada explains that in our body, for example, so there are elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether. They have different functions. Ether carries sound. Now air is after ether. He said air is very, very important, for example. Why? Now, in our body, food is carried from one place to the other. So what is the principle when water flows in a pipe? Pressure, right? So water moves from high pressure to low pressure. The same thing applies in our body. High pressure to low pressure. So what does it mean? There is pressure, air pressure, which is created within our body. So he says all the food within our body is transferred because of air. Prabhupada says this when I was reading on pranayam. So then he says, not only that, your thought is produced in the mind. There are subtle nadis, sukshma nadis, which come from the mind. And because of pressure, even there, these thoughts are carried from the mind to the body. And body acts like your hand slaps somebody. Your hand doesn't think. Where is the thinking taking place? Where is the mind? The mind is in the region of the heart. Pranopanishad says. Prabhupada explains in this third canto, chapter 26, that these prana also emanates from the heart. The soul is in the region of the heart. The super soul is in the region of the heart. So from the heart, all the communication has to take place to the entire body. The size of the soul, mind, this is all very interesting. I will do it as we go on. It's just mind blowing what Prabhupada is explaining there. And he says, all Prabhupada's next sentence is, all physical and mental problems are due to pressure of air. He says Ayurveda explains to us how, Ayurveda and yoga explains to us how to balance these pressures. So that is why when you eat heavy, what happens? There is too much pressure in the belly. So pressure here is less. You want to sleep because then it has to move because you cannot function. That's why Prabhupada says when you eat heavy, you have to sleep. So all this is in creation. When all these points come, and in Kapila Deva's chapter 3rd canto, chapter 27, in all these purports, when the creation, he's explaining to you what is the deeper function of each element. So this is the beauty of creation. So we don't just say, oh, God created, let there be light. That's nice. That's like an initial understanding. But what after that? So he created earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then for each element, he assigned a function. And if we understand that function, then we realize that we need to use those or meditate on those elements, use them right, by right eating, right lifestyle, right yoga, right chanting. Why are we not able to chant in such a way that there is only the Hare Krishna mantra in our mind? Why is it not possible? It's because the air within us is too much contaminated. That needs purification. So this purification has to take place. All our thoughts, all that we do in all our previous lives, all the video recording is still available. All the video recording is available. Your mind is a 3D camera. It records everything. Yamaraj has recorded everything. He has all the recordings. The super soul has all your recordings. The sun and the moon have all your recordings. In the mode of pure goodness, everything is revealed. And you learn your lessons from that. So that is why creation is important, because creation as we go down is gross, as you see here, but as you go back, it gets subtle. So that is why the first subject matter of Srimad-Bhagavatam is creation. Because within creation, there is a revelation. There is a revelation of so many deep aspects of the workings of each element. And then what are the functions? So Prabhupada says it is by this air that it manifests into something gross or subtle. First, everything is in the form of thought in the air. So that's why we say he is talking in the air. Means he is talking, but it is in the dream stage. But that thought is there. That is a seed that has to manifest now, grows. So that is how the manifestation grows. As we apply the modes. So everything is application of the modes. So we are all in different modes. So if we come to the mode of goodness, then we are controlled by the thoughts of mode of goodness. But we are not controlled completely by the thoughts of the soul yet. The thoughts of the soul are completely manifest only in the mode of pure goodness. So that is why it's important to understand the creation. All these years I was living in different temples, I was doing different things, I was, oh, this devotee does this, this is this, this is this. But once I understood the creation, everything fell in its place. Why is somebody like this? There is in mode of passion. Why is somebody like this? Mode of ignorance. Mixed modes of, there are degrees of mode of passion, degrees of mode of ignorance. So to all our problems, there is one solution, to come to the mode of goodness. So if we understand the root cause, like one lady said in today's class, oh, I get this problem, this problem. So as I understood, all the, you pull the thread, it is all characters of mode of passion. I said all you have to do is transfer yourself to the mode of goodness, keeping clean, bathing twice a day, uh, and eating 60% of, because our body has 5 layers. Our body is made up of 5 layers. The physical layer called as Annamaya, that is this body. So what is this body made up of in one word? Anybody would like to? What is our body made up of in one word? Yes, Deva Prabhu. How do I unmute you? I think you took control of the screen. You have to unmute you.
Oh, I'm saying the earth.
I forgot my.
A
The
lump of
body.
dust.
Yes. The body is made up of. You can maybe unmute everyone for this question.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a bit. Yeah, you
Why
have
don't
to do it. I think
you
you
get
took
in
control.
control?
I think
Go ahead,
you
get in control again. I just wanted to be unmuted. That's all.
control. Wait. Oh, I think no.
I don't know. Where do I go to? I don't know.
Oh,
Where
it's
you going?
okay. Maybe for now because I wasn't able to
Just have
unmute.
people raise their hand.
Yeah. Or you could just yeah, it's okay. So the
I
point
don't know.
here is what I'm trying to explain anyway. So if it's a bit tough, we'll skip that part. So maybe we end when I'm just about to wrap up, and then we will we'll have a Q&A. So what I'm trying to explain is that the 5 layers, the physical body is made up of food. So if you eat rajasic food or mode of passion food, what happens? The mode of passion dominates us. If we eat food in the mode of goodness, then mode of goodness dominates us. If we eat food in the mode of ignorance, then ignorance. Just like you drink alcohol, what happens? The alcohol takes over you. Therefore, we should realize that it is the modes that are acting. So if we change the control to the mode of goodness and gradually elevate ourselves to the mode of pure goodness. So the first layer is that of, so I will just briefly explain this, and in the next class, we will continue this theme. So the first subject matter is creation, and that itself we see is very deep. And next class, the next subject matters are not so difficult, but this one needed a little explanation. So I took this class just to explain, because we can see how deep these points are. So basically everything, at the root cause, everything is 3 modes of nature. Everything is a mixture of 3 manifestations of the 3 modes of nature. And then we need to gradually elevate ourselves to the mode of goodness. So Prabhupada says, when the mind becomes clear, in the Yoga Sutra it says, when the mind becomes clear, the mind is able to reflect this side as well as this side. It is able to reflect the ego and the soul, and is able to see the objects in their entirety, the material objects. So when you are in Rajoguna, you cannot see Sattva-guna. You are thinking you are always right. That is Rajoguna. So Rajoguna means every politician thinks he is right. Every big guy thinks he is right. In the mode of ignorance, he thinks there is nothing else exists except him. But in mode of goodness, you realize that it is not only me, but everybody exists. So that is why a devotee has to transfer himself to the mode of goodness. So when a devotee comes to the mode of goodness, he achieves a complete realization, a complete reflection of the self. So mode of goodness is the primary character, that is of a
Going
Brahmana.
on with the audio, some feedback. I don't know what that is.
Maybe you have to mute. Maybe if you can mute yourself. Just mute yourself. Yeah. So yeah, okay. So we find that the material creation uh, gradually, as you come to the mode of pure goodness, then you can access the direct instructions of Paramatma. So how we come to that mode of goodness? Some people even take the help of yoga, some people, but the most important thing is, of course, our main sadhana is to chant and to eat food that is in the mode of goodness. So mode of goodness is achieved mainly by eating and living a lifestyle. So that is why Krishna says yukta ahara viharasya yukta chestasya karmasu yukta swapna avabodhasya yogo bhavati dukhaha. So Krishna says that one has to eat, live and work in such a way that he is always in the mode of goodness. In this way, what happens? All the pains of this material world are gone. Then he can chant Hare Krishna peacefully. But if our basic necessities are so stressful, our work is stressful, our eating is heavy, our interactions with people, like today, people are all coronavirus on television, people are all getting disturbed, what do you call it? Depressed. Then what happens? Naturally, it affects your eating, your meditation, everything. So mode of goodness means you keep things at a distance. Your mind is very alert, very focused, inward, and in this way, you can achieve the higher levels of spiritual intelligence. Okay, so I will stop here for today. This is the first subject matter, creation, and next week we'll do a couple more, 2 or 3 more. So if anybody has any questions, please uh, let me know.
Danielle, Tulsi, Sergey, any of you want to go first? Three, two, one. Okay. Those of you who came late, one of the highlights of this class, because I love analogies, even hearing from the greatest teacher, Srila Prabhupada, it's his analogies that really cut through and help me understand, like if, in terms of teacher student, it's analogies or examples that are relevant and very, that draw a real visual. That's how I learn best. So the biggest highlight that really, at least on the particular subject matter of following a real platform, and then the creation takes place after that, which was the subject of this matter, is an example that this great soul Gurnataraj gave. And I want him to repeat it because some of you came late and didn't hear it, but it's amazing. It's amazing analogy of how we come to the material world, and Krishna is there still guiding us. And this example is that he gave. We're taking a skydiving course from Krishna. He told us not to come here. It's dangerous to skydive or to bungee jump, but we think it's an adventure. Oh, the adrenaline. Oh, I'm going to be able to get a little certificate, show people. Anyway, you explain it the way you did because it's amazing.
So if you saw that creation picture,
Did you come up with that yourself, by the way?
yeah. As I was speaking, it just popped into my head by Paramatma.
Today.
Yeah, today. Because so I can see that today's
You
class.
see how inspired you are by being in Hawaii?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
That's all I'm saying.
I'm
Okay,
literally
go ahead.
on Zoom calls about 10 to 15 hours a day now. At least 10 hours with so many classes and individual sessions. I do one-on-one Yoga Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, and lifestyle sessions. So many.
Prabhu, your audio is breaking up with there's something on your end, Prabhu?
I think just
with
mute.
audio.
If when maybe when you speak, I let me see 1 second. Yeah, okay. So basically, I saw that basically the mode of goodness theme I find as a very, very common something that all devotees can and should implement. For example, Patraka Prabhu, growing his own food, pure food. These are all signs of mode of goodness. And whatever you cook, it should be in the mode of goodness. So as I came back at this concept, so basically when you go to Pradhana, so and actually Daiva Prabhu's class made, not Daiva Prabhu, Garuda Prabhu's class last week made it very clear that the soul petitions the Lord to come down, and he still has access to the Lord in the 3 stages of creation when the Pradhana mixes. And the Paramatma, he is able to access him, yet he is asking him. So there is an example again of a lady who is carrying wood on her head, and that lady is carrying wood on her head, and she is very, very pained that the wood falls off. And she is so pained that the wood falls off from her head. She says, "Hey, Narayana!" And Lord Narayana comes there because of her cry. And he says, "What can I do for you?" She could have asked any seed. She said, "That wood fell from my head, that bunch of wood. Please put it back on my head." So this is what the soul does to itself. So he still has access to Paramatma. He says, "No, no, I want to enjoy the material world." It's so as though he's standing on the plane to sky jump, or he goes to a bungee jump and tells his dad. A kid tells his dad, "Hey, Dad, I want to do this bungee jump. I want to do this sky jump." And the dad tries to convince him, "Hey, don't do that. It's not good for you. You could die. You could slip." And he said, "No, no, no, no. It's worth it. Let me do it once." He says, "Okay, here you go." And then boom, boom, boom. He keeps coming down. So it's an opportunity. So every stage, the Lord is giving you an opportunity. Uh, what about this? You want to still fall down? You want to go? And it's not just at that stage, but actually at every stage of our life. The Lord is asking, you want to change now? You want to surrender now? And like Garuda Prabhu said last week, he said, "I'm ready to wait eternity for you to surrender." So he's waiting. And every moment we are saying, "No, no, 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 now's not the time. Now's not the time." So we are doing sky jump after sky jump from one higher planet to lower planet to lower planet to lower planet. So now somehow we are in this planet. It's time to go higher. So it's time to go back to the plane and take the instructions of the pilot, that is Paramatma. Hare Krishna. So anybody has any questions? Maybe Daiva Prabhu, you could unmute all. I'm not sure how to take the control back.
Hare Krishna, this is Daniel speaking. Hare Krishna. I really appreciate all these classes. It's so wonderful because I got Prabhupada's books and I went to the temple and chanted. But when somebody explained it, so nicely, and it helps so much to go forward in Krishna consciousness. So I thank you so much for sharing your realization and everything. Jai Hai Bol.
Varnataraj, were you able to hear him?
Yes.
Okay, that's Daniel. I don't know if you met him when you were visiting. He's from Hong Kong, so you can notice the Chinese accent. Yeah. Very, very old and dear friend of mine. Yeah, it's amazing. I have to also thank you in that same vein. Your class is amazing. It makes me want to read Prabhupada's books like anything, because it's such deep philosophy that I'm so in the mode of passion, as you know, that I have to feel like I'm enjoying everything that I do. So prasadam for the Westerner has always been the biggest sell of Krishna consciousness, to eat wonderful samosa kachori, etc. Sabji like that. You're even when you're telling us, to eat more in the mode of goodness and less fried foods and like that. Somehow my diet's changing, and when I went shopping, I bought a lot more greens and goji berries and honey and these that notes. You mentioned briefly in this class how we can become more attracted to the chanting naturally. You started to talk about that because of the pushings and the mode of goodness isn't there enough, so that we're peaceful and we're not in anxiety and stressful. Go into that a little deeper about getting a taste for the chanting, and you mentioned that briefly also. Was it in the last class of you had just finished a fast and yoga and some austerities like you do, like a yogi, and you had some deep realizations of the sweetness of the chanting after that.
Basically, I did a 1 month fast on chia seed water. But you can do a fast based on the phases of the moon. Like yesterday, I started a batch of 25 people, and they gradually fast from this full moon to new moon. You gradually reduce your diet, and on the new moon, you fast. And our body is tuned to the phases of the moon. That's why if you do not control uh, if you do not control your eating and habits and follow the tithi cycles, the word lunatic. So basically Prabhupada gives the clue here. It is all the flow of air. So your eating and flow of air is very much related. So those who eat uncontrolled, those who do not control the movement of air, because air carries thought, so it obstructs your thought process. So when you are able to control your eating, bring it to mode of goodness, then this flow of air is regulated. But it is not just that, but one has to also be in the mode of goodness. And for example, I practice my asanas like 45 minutes to 1 hour a day. And as I do that, I experienced a complete change in my body and mind. If you're able to sit in one place for 2 hours, then the air, so when you're walking, there is a lot of movement, and that also affects the movement of the mind. But if you're able to sit down in one place, that is called mode of goodness, and you are able to regulate the flow of your breathing, the speed of your breath, and meditate on each word nicely. So it's all about diet. So when you eat heavy, there is too much pressure in the body when you eat heavy. So you have to eat light, you have to be calm. And you should not have other thoughts of anger, frustration, all the other things. If I'm thinking of other devotees who I had fight with, or things that of my past which are troubling me, then what happens? That really affects your present. So basically, Patanjali says, so I did a video called time travel. So is time travel real? It is not. You cannot go, because every moment is a past, every micro millisecond is a past. So which past are you going to? That's not possible. So Patanjali basically explains that you are the present. All you have is the present. You do not know the future, you do not know the past, but what is you is the present right now. You might have done something really bad in the past, that's okay. You do not know the future, that's okay, but what you have is the present. But the full present moment, the Bhagavatam says, if one can be in full consciousness even for one moment, so that moment should increase, and then we should be full conscious all the time. So every moment right now is your present. Moment you think about past, about somebody, it's all a waste of time. All you have is the present. So only think of Krishna, one pointed. In the Yoga Sutra it said, Tat pratishedartham eka tattva abhyasaha, eka tattva, one pointed. Slam the iron, heat it up, slam it on the right place, perfect, fully focused. You have the present. Yes, you have one chance. What is that? You are present. That's it. And if that one moment you are able to give, every moment that you are able to give, yes, your thoughts come from the present, and one should learn the art of neglecting the mind. That is the Bhagavad says. The more, and there is a common saying in Kannada, it says, Ahankarakke udasinave maddu. So ahankar means because of our ego, there is so many thoughts that come. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. It's always telling, oh, this revenge is left, that revenge is left, this is left, that is left, this has to be done, that has to be done. Oh, forget all of that. Now I'm chanting Krishna's name. Now I'm doing the what needs to be done. Forget about everything else. That is the thought. So anyway, this is just my realization. I can go on and on. So, but the point is that we have to be in present, in the mode of goodness, full consciousness and fully focused. Then we can realize the name of Krishna in its entirety. Hare Krishna.
Tulsi and Sergey, I'd like to make it a standard that, especially with a small group, that everyone share their reflections on what they got out of the class, if not a question, either one. So, Tulsi, ladies first.
So maybe you can unmute her, or she
Oh,
can
I'm
unmute.
sorry.
Or maybe
She's muted.
yeah, you
Tulsi,
can,
you're muted.
or
You
maybe
have
she
to
can
unmute yourself.
unmute. Yeah, can you unmute yours?
Sergey, can you say something?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
we can hear you.
I really enjoyed this class, and the time went by really quick. I learned quite a bit. I do have a few questions as far as like what other senses are with what element, like air, and we were talking about that. But I mean, we can like probably look into that further. I don't want to take everybody's time.
Oh, no,
But other
no.
than that,
Go ahead. He's explaining it. Did you understand his question, Gordon?
I didn't get his question. He said he
Okay,
had
can you be a
questions.
little more specific about the what you're asking?
my question was like senses. Like we have 5 senses, and then there's different 5 elements, and which element correlates to which sense?
So the ears, they correspond to sky, that is sound, that is
Okay.
ether. Ether, sound is in ether.
Okay.
The earth, water. So water, tongue is water.
Okay.
So sound.
Touch.
So tongue is water, and taste, water and
Okay.
taste is tongue.
Water and taste.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the ear is sky and sound.
Yep.
Then air. So air is the nostrils. And smell and air is the nostrils. And
Fire.
for the fire. So fire is actually the eyes,
Okay.
because you see the form with your eyes, light,
Oh.
and there is fire of attraction. It is actually when you watch too much TV, your hunger also get messed up, because
Your
the
what gets
fire,
messed up?
your hunger,
Oh.
Your appetite?
yeah, appetite also, because the eyes are also fire element. So if your eyes become too strained, it also affects your digestion. I mean, there's a connection between the elements. So earth, water, fire, air. So air is, I've already revealed, and
Touch.
ether. Yeah, correct. So eyes are fire, nose is air, tongue is water, and the last one is the skin, touch, and that is sound, touch, form, taste, smell. So touch is the skin.
And that would be earth.
No. Sound, touch, form, taste, smell. So smell,
Earth, air, water, air, ether.
yeah, sorry, this touch that is there, this is air. I got a little mixed up there. So the air, air is touch. So that is the skin. So air
Okay.
is touch and nose is actually smell, earth.
Earth. Okay. Okay.
Nose is
Interesting.
earth, smell. So nose is actually connected to your genitals, smell.
Hmm.
So that is why, yeah. So because it is earth. So nose is smell, skin is touch, eyes are fire, tongue is water, and ears are sky.
Okay.
Yeah.
So. Okay. Okay. That made sense. Thank you. I was wondering about that. Thank you for sharing that piece of wisdom. I will try to incorporate that.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. That was
Okay.
my question.
Okay. Thank you.
Tulsi, I just messaged her. I'm not sure why she's not able to say anything.
Ah,
Oh, there she
okay.
is.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I got a phone call, so I just missed like most of that whole thing. But
Okay. I
Oh,
was just asking everyone to share any reflections or if you had any questions. How much of it have you been able to hear, Tulsi?
just minimal.
Oh, okay.
Like it. Thank you for the class.
Yeah, it's going to be on YouTube.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so you can always message him, in email or whatever after you see the whole thing. Did you hear the part about the skydiving analogy?
Bungee jumping.
Yeah. Did you hear how he related that to the creation and us coming to the material world? I thought that was really cool. He explained that
Go ahead.
say your daughter, when she grows up and especially say she's only like 14 or so, little Kaylee, and she approaches you and your husband and asks you, I want to go bungee jumping. How would you react? What would you do?
Well, I'd say no, but yeah, okay, I think I remember now. You're saying,
Yeah.
okay, you can go, but let me go with you.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
okay.
You're trying to convince him not to because it's dangerous. Of course, I have a question. We come to this material world, and this is coming from my growing up kind of Christian and Catholic. This whole concept of God is the punisher.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time sometimes, and I get a little resentful, and I'm like, Krishna, why me? And why am I suffering? And birth after birth, give me a break. Why? Of course, it's our own stubbornness that we don't surrender, but it's hard to, wrap my mind around it anyway. How can we accept all the blame? And it's birth after birth. It just seems like too much torture.
I have already given the clue. So that is mode of passion and ignorance. So basically, when you come to the mode of goodness, if you have heard Garuda Prabhu's class, see, the thing is, some things like why we came here, the root, some things cannot be answered, they have to be revealed. So we can give you a general direction, but some things have to be revealed. So there is a reason behind everything. We should have faith in the Lord's plan, number one. So number two is that these thoughts are a result or of the certain mode that we are in. It's like you are in a dream.
Then my question is, why is everybody not equal in that? It's our choices from past lives that make people different in terms of how much they're influenced by, this is an astrologer, by, more passion or more ignorance or more goodness or a combination of the three.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, we do not know what degree of passion and ignorance has been mixed in our thought process. So that the role of a devotee or importance of a devotee is actually transfer himself to the mode of goodness. And in the mode of goodness, he will get knowledge automatically. I've heard many devotees say they saw Prabhupada, and as soon as they saw Prabhupada, their confusion went away, because he is Bhagavat, he is the light, he is in mode of pure goodness. So when you are exposed to the mode of pure goodness, automatically your confusion goes away, all your frustration goes away. Then you realize it was you. But in the mode of passion, in the mode of ignorance, your ego is heavy on you. Your ego is heavy on you. So why me? So the more you go into mode of passion and ignorance, your ego is stronger. The more you go into mode of goodness, your ego becomes weaker. Your spiritual ego becomes stronger. That's it. There was a Yoga Nidra specialist by name who does this eye rest yoga. And I happened to meet him. Forget his name. I'm not able to remember him. He's an amazing Yoga Nidra specialist.
What
And
is yoga?
Yoga Nidra is where you lie down and you breathe deeply. You can just in YouTube you'll find, and then you gradually relax all your bodily organs, and then you meditate on the heart. He had so many people come to him who were war veterans, who were on the brink of suicide, who had too many past ghosts haunting them. And all he did was he did a yoga nidra, relaxed them, and he told them, just meditate on yourself, that is the soul, who is untouched by by whatever trauma you are going through. You, the soul, do not undergo any trauma. Moment they realize that point, in a state of deep calmness, they realize, hey, it's just the mind throwing up the past, which does not exist anymore. You have to just learn to ignore it. You need to just clean the mind and go to the next step. And until you do that, you just live in the past. So this is mode of ignorance. So he said, by yoga nidra, you calm them, you bring them to the mode of goodness, and you make them realize things which they could not even think on in a normal state of mind. So it is just your state of mind in the mode of passion or ignorance that is causing the problem. So that would be my realization.
You're gonna have to give us a class on yoga nidra.
No, yeah, I'm starting actually online classes, so we can do
or
one this
meditation.
group.
Your take on meditation.
Yeah.
Sergey, I wanted to encourage you. Sergey revealed to me a few weeks ago that what he's learning, one of his goals with what he's learning as a newcomer, is he'd like to be able to present it to the ordinary person, because there's a tendency for us as devotees, we use a lot of the Sanskrit, we have our own language, basically. I think that's what you meant, Sergey. Is that true?
Yeah, I was just thinking of how you can make a relatable way to talk to people, to a simple person to really capture their attention and want to inspire them to start asking questions and want to look into it further for themselves.
That's nice. I really appreciate that, because the reason I named this group Bliss Study Group was